I miss Axel every single day. The process of Axel leaving the home was an incredibly long one. It was such a shocking change from having my son in the house, where he is this insanely intense ball of energy and noise and sound and activity, to the house. It was so quiet. So before I had a family, I was in London, had loads of different irons and different fires, and had this very exciting, varied, fun life. I met my husband, I fell in love, and had Anusha, and a more beautiful baby I could never imagine. And it was all going to plan. Axel was born, we'd moved to Hove near Brighton, and he was beautiful too. We couldn't believe how in love we were with another baby. Couldn't imagine matching the first baby, but sure enough, absolutely blown away and adored this little boy. 8 weeks, eye contact starts to come, and I had this strong sense that I could not find my son, and I kept looking and yearning for eye contact with him, to play, to start communicating with him. And I started saying very strange things to my husband about him not all being here. So I spent 2 years thinking my son hated me. Axel was a perfect little boy. The feelings of distress I was feeling was because I was postnatal, was because there was something wrong with me, because I wasn't doing something right. And it was the most painful thing, having this child that didn't want anything to do with me, nothing, and would do everything to get away from me. If I tried to play with his cars or interact with him or say hello, he would smash his head on the floor. He would find the nearest hard surface and whack his head into it. He ended up with a crown of bruises. And so I learned, I don't know, I just used to channel my energies into washing up and doing something productive to try and bear the pain of it. All the while thinking he hates me for some reason, and I just don't understand. Having it confirmed by professionals is a hideous mixture of emotions, all that kind of placating that people try to do. He's not autistic, he doesn't look autistic, he da-da-da. And by the time Axel was 7 or 8, my life was really tough. The behaviour was getting insane, and he was really savagely biting us and himself and his sister. So driving was getting dangerous, going out was dangerous, going anywhere was dangerous. We were in Brighton, carer, myself, daughter, and he did a runner, and I was struggling to catch him. I rugby tackled him, took him out by the feet, and his head came crashing down in the curb, inches away from the taxi that came rolling through. And in that moment it was like, I can't do this anymore. We got to the stage where Axel was going into care 7 nights a month. I knew he had to leave.
It was good. We get to do half a day's dress rehearsal tomorrow.
Anusha is thrilled that he's left. She'd really had enough. Fair enough. Axel's been in the care home for 2 years now, and I'd say it probably took me a good year to really ensure that the nest, as it were, the scenario we were in, was really effective and going to work for him. That we're communicating with him in the same way, we're treating him in the same way, we're dealing with challenging behaviours in the same way, and we do have a great team. Axel has always had a lot of obsessive behaviours. When he's leaving the house, he sometimes have a very strong need to go and touch the bottom step with his foot before he can walk out of the house. Other behaviours like breaking mirrors, smashing himself, hurting himself or biting others to the point of bleeding, clearly yes, we have to intervene. Axel is starting to use communication well.
Right, we're going to do this. Okay, we're going to call it crispy.
He's coming to a place where he enjoys people and sees the value and benefit of communicating. He's cottoned on that actually it's quite handy. And I had my first interaction with Axel this last year where he said, or the iPad said, I want rice cake. And I said, I'm sorry, love, I don't have any. And so then he said, I want chops. So it was our first conversation. It was really lovely. I'd sometimes wonder with Axel whether it's taken years for him to comprehend that he has an opinion or he has a preference, and then for that to make the journey to the centre of himself that says, and I might express it.
Cry. I want more cries bread.
Axel, that's brilliant. How many?
What I've become increasingly aware of over the years is how we have spent so much time trying to teach Axel to not be him but to be like us, to learn our ways of communicating, our rules, our regulations, and expecting him to get this language and so on, but to really get behind him and see through the lens with which he perceives and experiences the world. And from that place, be with him, talk his language, play his way, and then maybe I can start to bring in a little bit more of our life, our language, our ways, but to really embrace him, to let him know he's all right where he is, his way. If you want to eat your spaghetti with your hands, I bet that does feel quite nice. Why not? What the future holds, I have no idea. I dearly hope that Axel continues to make great strides with his communication, that we continue to increase the number of reasonable activities that an Axel can get up to, that he might become more able to express what he's needing, so therefore less challenging behaviours, therefore less staff. If we can help him to communicate and control himself and find alternative ways of being in the world, then he could still have one carer with him and go out for a walk, go to the park, access places he enjoys, cafes and so on. At the moment, he needs two. And we've got to work very hard to support Axel to manage that future, a good future. So he still comes home 2 days and he sees his father every weekend. After 18, I don't know, it's a grave worry of mine that resources are reducing, that things are being pulled in for these services, which is utterly the wrong way, considering that autism is on the increase, or incidence or awareness of it is on the increase. I feel immensely proud of Axel. When I think about what that little boy lives with, that his eyes are hurting, his ears are hurting, his skin is hurting, and he can't say. I admire his guts. I think he's incredible. He's been born with a lot of things we take for granted missing.
You're so much fun, Axel.
He's the one that's finding avenues and mechanisms to communicate and be with us in our world. Clearly, we as a society need to be working very hard to understand how we are going to ensure that we have excellent provision for these extraordinary, unusual and wonderful individuals to be having lives that are as peaceful and purposeful and playful as we would wish.